Is it time to mandate the wearing of masks across the country?
Oh, I definitely long overdue for that. And my understanding that the Centers for Disease Control has recommended the use of masks, but not required it because they don't want to offend the president. And the president should be example. You know, real men wear masks. Be an example to the country and wear the mask. Not only it's not about protecting yourself, it's about protecting others.
Just remember, when anyone says to you, come on, don't use words like tyranny to describe the Democrats. They're our fellow Americans, and they just want what's best for us, too. Oh, no, they want tyranny, folks. They want to be able to tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And if you don't comply, they will lock you up, take your money, ruin you. That's how they do things. That is an ethos. That is the core of the Democrat Party today. There's no like, we're going to act in good faith and we can see your side of this. No. They want your annihilation. They want your destruction. So just understand that. Make no mistake about it. And the mask mandate is something that you're going to hear a lot more about because they love this idea. Think about this. If they can tell you that you have to wear a mask, I want to know, what do they think that they can't demand of you, right? What do they think is beyond their purview? They already can regulate inactivity thanks to Obamacare. And now they'll be able to tell you have to wear a mask. And what will be the sanction for not to? Are they going to arrest people? Remember, the law without force isn't really a law. So what does this mandate mean? You're going to start locking people up because they won't wear a face covering when they're healthy? Think of how much of an expansion of government authority this is. They have a rationale that is not, in fact, proven scientifically and has, in some instances, been disproven, meaning that the necessity for masks outdoors is close to zero. I mean, if you can social distance even a little bit and you're outside, especially in warm weather, seems very unlikely that you're going to spread this disease to anybody. But I need to be sure of what exactly it is we're being asked. There are tens of thousands of people who die from the flu every year. Why aren't we all mandated to wear masks all the time for flu? At what point is it just too annoying? At what point is it just you won't comply? And what happens when you don't comply? They're going to ask you nicely? No. The government eventually only has one thing that it can do. It only has one fallback: force. The use of force. You will do this or we will arrest you. You will let us arrest you or we will arrest you to the ground. We will arrest you to the ground or we will taser you, and so on and so forth. That's what it is. That is the underlying truth of things like mask mandates. It's not just something that they say that isn't going to be a cause for concern. And I keep saying this: masks. Why don't we have to wear them for the flu? Oh, because this is so much worse than the flu. But okay. But if it's something that's so important, why don't we want to save lives during the flu too? Because it's too annoying? Oh, that's right. That's correct. Because it is stifling, because it's a massive infringement upon one's ability to enjoy one's life. Walking around with a mask on your face in 85-degree weather is not fun. And we're going to have to do this forever. This is the other part of it that they don't tell you. Or until November. Maybe after November, they'll start to get a little more lax, once Biden wins. We're not getting rid of this disease entirely anytime soon. We're already being told that there's record number of cases. Some of it is testing, but some of it is not. It has been spreading in communities, particularly in the South and the Southwest. So what are we telling ourselves about this? We mask until when? We lock down until when? Oh, this is about hospital capacity again? Okay, well, if it's about hospital capacity, then, certain areas of the country would enhance restrictions. And look, we all signed on for that. We don't want people to not be able to get hospital treatment if they get this. But that should only be in places where there's a real risk of overrunning the hospital, which will be able to be dealt with within a week or two. All right, if you have restrictions in place for a week or two, then the hospital should be able to handle the excess or the increase in capacity. But you're not being told a lot of things that are necessary to understand why we're in pandemic panic 2.0, because that's where we are right now. They're trying to convince people that this is as bad or worse than what we faced back in March and April, even though the national death rate per day from COVID-19 is down 75%. So right, do you ever hear that statistic that when you look at this, you say, hold on, wait, how many people? Oh, we're down. It's getting close to 80% daily deaths from this disease. But does it sound like that? That's the single most important metric there is, right? That's the thing that you can't hide from. And there are even people that say, well, some of these deaths are actually with COVID, not from COVID, but I'm not getting into that debate right now. Here's what Dr. Fauci, who's back now. You know, I'm here to remind you about the hand washing, about the mitigation, and, you know, the data. Look, we don't really have an answer. We don't know if we're ever going to have a cure. Maybe the vaccine works. Maybe it don't. Maybe the hand washing really helps a lot or not. I don't know. Does it come through the eyes, the nose? You know, the virus is very small, like really tiny small. You know when you get something stuck in your tooth and it's like you're trying to like get it out, but it's really stuck in there, and it's a virus is smaller than that. Play clip 6, please.
People took the attitude in some places of either all or none. Either you lock down or you just let it fly and you just ignore many of the guidelines of physical distancing, wearing a mask, shaking hands, not shaking hands, avoiding crowds. And what happened is you see pictures on the TV of the fact that even in states that are telling their citizens to do it correctly, they're doing that. There are crowds, they're not physical distancing, and they're not wearing masks. That's a recipe for disaster. It's something I spoke about time and again. We do need to open up again, no doubt about it. We want to get the economy back, but you've got to do it in a measured way. And now we're seeing the consequences of community spread.
There's going to be community spread anyway. It's going to keep happening. How many times do we have to go through this? Protect the vulnerable. Most of the I think it's 50% roughly of the new cases in Arizona are people under 35. They're basically all going to be fine. Protect the vulnerable. Stop pretending that 30 and 40-year-olds should stop living their lives, and 20-year-olds and 15-year-olds should stop living their lives because of this disease. Yes, if you have somebody at home who's going to be at higher risk, be a little more cautious, be a little more careful. But we can't have, there's this dissonance. Okay, we have to reopen. We have to reopen, but we can't reopen. We have to reopen, but there's community spread. Well, which is it? There is no reopening without fear and without the reality of this respiratory disease in society. This seems to be the part of this philosophically that we have so much trouble with as a society. And, look, the American death rate overall is way lower than comparable European countries. So there's definitely some aspects of our response. And that's just because we have better health care. Oh, what a shock. You mean the socialist healthcare countries aren't some panacea? Yeah. The morons are wrong there once again. But the truth is that we are limping toward eventual herd immunity. We're just doing it with the maximum amount of petty tyranny, hypocrisy, stupidity, anxiety, and economic pain, courtesy of our feckless political class. We have to live life. We have to find a way forward with this disease in the background. People die from a lot of things every day across the country that they wouldn't die from if we all stayed locked in our homes. We can't do this anymore. I don't want to hear all the fear-mongering. We can't do it. No. They said hospital capacity. Any lockdown that is not directly related to a short-term hospital capacity issue in a certain part of the country is unacceptable. I'm just looking at what they told us, the same experts. They promise one thing, they keep doing another. We had silence from the public health community while the protesters were massing all over the country. The looters, some of them were wearing masks, which is a bonus for them, of course, but a lot of them weren't. But even still, if masks were all you needed, It's masks plus social distancing. If masks were all you needed, then why have lockdowns at all? Just have everyone wear masks. We can go to the movies, we can go to the gym, everyone wears masks, everything is fine. No, social distancing was the other necessary piece of the advice, and that was completely abandoned for weeks. And now you have all these protesters, you have all these media outlets are saying the protesters aren't the reason for the surge, really? In Minneapolis, the most recent data I saw is that the spike in cases is overwhelmingly from people under 40. Oh, what do we think? What do we think might have played a role in that? Not a lot of 65-year-olds marching for 3 hours in a protest where they might get tear gassed. I'm not saying there are none, but there are very few. Who's at the protests? People 25 to 35 or 20 to 35. That's who's at these protests. But we're going to ignore that. Remember, they're not going necessarily into the office much more than they were before. What is the big change? They keep saying it's the reopening. My friends, don't let them get away with this. The politics of this couldn't be any more clear. But, ultimately what we see is that right now in America, we are living in a time of mass hysteria combined with mass media. And the results are not good. Working from home is driving up one of the worst types of cybercrime, home title theft. We're doing it all from home these days. Working, banking, video conferences, meal deliveries, and shopping. Cyber criminals are targeting our homes. Actually, they want the money they can get by taking out loans against your home. This crime is called home title theft. The FBI is trying to get out the word about this one. Home Title Lock is how you protect your home from cyber thieves. Your home's legal title is online where they find it and forge your signature stating you sold your home to them. Then they'll take out loans on your home and leave you in debt. Banks, insurance, and basic identity theft services don't protect you. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title. Protect your home now. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim, and use code BUCK for 30 days of protection free so you can help through this crisis. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Use code BUCK.
There's another way this is different from early on, and that is that one of the things that we've heard in Texas and Florida in particular is that nearly half of those who are testing positive are Americans under the age of 35. That's contributing to the fact that those that are requiring to be hospitalized who are testing positive for coronavirus is significantly lower than it was 2 months ago. And so we really believe that what is happening here is a combination of increased testing. We're able to test a great deal more Americans than we were able to several months ago. But it also may be indication that as we're opening our economy up, that younger Americans have been congregating in ways that may have disregarded the guidance that we gave on the federal level for all the phases of reopening. And I think that's why you see several governors taking action to essentially try and prevent further increases in those new cases.
It's mostly young people driving the spikes. This is what he's telling us. That's important for us all to know. That's important for us to hear, because younger people are at very low risk of mortality from this disease. And now if we're just talking about, uncomfortable symptoms, and, well, it's very similar to the flu, which tens of millions of people get every single year. Do I think the flu is very bad? Yes. Do I want to get the flu? No, I do not. Do I think that society should be shut down because people are going to get the flu and it'll make them really sick? I do not. And if we're talking about younger people, which we are here, what really is the acceptable risk tolerance? We were told this was about flattening the curve for hospital capacity, not flattening the curve and then reopening and then flattening and then reopening. And that, this is a recipe for destroying the American economy. Why do we think all the maniacs out there are ruling and running the streets? Because the rest of life is put on hold in places. There are still, we keep saying about the reopen. We're not really reopened. We're not able to go about our normal lives. This is a fiction. There are all kinds of restrictions on gatherings, on office places, on bars, on restaurants. It's not the same. We're not reopened. We're just beginning to reopen. And they're already saying we got to go backwards. This was about hospital capacity. It was not about waiting out the disease. You can't wait it out. People say, oh, there's going to be a vaccine. Here's Dr. Fauci on how effective a vaccine may be. Play clip 5.
Doubt seriously that any vaccine will ever be 100% protected. The best we've ever done is measles, which is 97 to 98% effective. That would be wonderful if we get there. I don't think we will. I would settle for a 70, 75% effective vaccine, because that would bring you to that level of would be herd immunity level.
Herd immunity. He's talking about the best case scenario of a vaccine. And oh my gosh, if we could even get to 70% vaccination level, that would give us herd immunity. What herd immunity means, and this is what everyone keeps forgetting, we're always told, herd immunity is that there are enough people in the herd, so to speak, in the populace that have immunity to this, that they are not vectors of transmission to those who are without immunity and who are at substantial risk. All right? So for all of these young people who are getting this disease, after their body clears this, which usually takes about 2 weeks, once their body clears it, they no longer have to worry not just about themselves, but from everything we know about viruses and, virology and epidemiology, they will not, in 6 weeks when they want to go see grandma and grandpa, be any risk of giving it to them. Unless there's something about this disease that we don't know that's different from other viruses like it. So people who are at low risk getting the disease is how you get closer to herd immunity. What we want essentially is to have, everybody in the country under 50 to have either gotten over this disease or, it would be great if we could have a vaccination. And that means that it's much, much less likely to get to a community spread level and be a risk to people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s for whom this disease is vicious and deadly. Right? That's the focus of every effort that we've had in the past to stamp out disease. You're not going to be able to get, with a vaccination, you're not going to be able to get 100% coverage. Of course, he's even saying this. Even the vaccine itself, never mind people who don't get vaccinated, isn't going to give you 100% coverage. But it means that there are enough people that aren't at risk. So, when we hear, there's, 50,000 or 40, I think the most recent number was over 30,000 in a day. But let's say there's 50,000 people in Arizona who are under 35, who have a 0.000001 mortality rate from this disease. Within 2 weeks, they're now in the recovered ledger. They're no longer a risk to transmit the disease to other people. Now, testing is important as the virus is spreading, so people know they have it and can lay low and not spread it to people who are at higher risk. But just because you have the disease spreading among lower risk communities, that's not a good enough reason to shut down all of society. At what point is it just too high a price to not just ask, but to demand of people? You can't have your life back. Months and months of your life are going to be taken away again. We're going to do this every year? Why not? If it's the moral choice, why not? See, notice we're having the same argument all over again, which I knew we would. And you know why we're having it? It's not just because people are concerned about the disease, which I know a lot of people are, but it's because the country being miserable and scared benefits a political party, and it ain't the Republicans.
So we need action right now, and that's why I am setting off the alarm bells for President Trump to renew the public health emergency, which expires on July 25th. A public health emergency must be renewed now. And the worry is that President Trump, in his own inimitable way, will not want to renew the emergency because he wants to deny that it exists, even though everyone knows it does exist.
What does the public health emergency do? Let's ask us. Are we suggesting that there won't be federal assistance to hospitals that need it? There won't be testing that is needed? What does the public health emergency really accomplish? And why is Chuck Schumer so invested in this? We all understand why. Yet again, the country will be under a state of public health emergency, which will also give additional cover to Democrats who are out there looking for excuses to continue to wield this power against their own populations, because their voters, the Democrat voters, are fine with this. They're remarkably compliant and submissive to wear a mask, don't wear a mask, just kidding, wear a mask, not sure this time, do what we tell you, or else businesses can't open, can't see your friends, can't see your family. We don't have a plan to get us out of this. We're just going to keep locking down and hiding under our bed from this. Democrats are remarkably compliant about this. And then Republicans find themselves the voices of just reality, never mind even sanity, the voices of reality in some of these blue states, and we're outvoted, and there's no way to get things back on track for normalcy. What really is the plan here? Let's extend a public health emergency so we can get to lockdown 2.0 again? Lock down the borders, lock down everything. Not a lot of coverage in the media about how Mexico, as I saw it recently, was at a 50% positivity rating for its or positive testing rating for COVID-19. Not a lot of focus on that. So I find that surprising. Actually, not really surprising at all, is it? They don't want to talk about how other countries are having their own terrible struggles with this. Brazil has had a very hard time with this. Other countries have higher mortality rates, but also is the surge in cases in Mexico in any way relevant to, say, Arizona and Texas? I don't know. I don't have proof. I don't have data, but I would certainly want to look at that question. I'd want somebody who is a so-called journalist to find out answers, because this is not about politics. This is about keeping people safe. We should know. We should know where the virus is coming from. It was coming from China. We shut down flights from China. Are there a lot of cross-border viral transmissions going, or, people with the virus transiting the border right now and then transmitting it to the American people? That's a very important data point that we don't have answers to. But the worst people when it comes to the response to all this, I mean, the people who are in the weakest position to lecture the rest of us about what's really going on here, they're the ones that have the loudest voices on it, which I suppose in some ways shouldn't be surprising. Here's Governor Cuomo, who is doing a press conference still where he wants to tell people what to do. Because, he says it's the facts and the data, and it's not politics. It's not about politics. But other people are about politics, and they were wrong. They did the wrong thing. Don't ask me about nursing homes, though. That's not nice. Play clip 12.
Everybody talked about the economic consequence, and the president said we should reopen, and that's going to help the economy. It turned out to be exactly wrong.
Turned out to be wrong. Yeah, they're wrong. They're wrong. I had a horrific record in New York as the governor. Really, the highest death rate for any large single area of the whole world, from what I understand. Worse than anywhere, with the possible exception of northern Italy. New York. If you take New York out of the rest of the United States, if New York were its own country, it would be the worst COVID response on the entire planet. That's saying something, and that's where I'm doing this show right now. I also note this. What do the libs really think that other conservatives like me who live in these hot spots, who have family members in these hot spots, that we just don't care? We just love Trump so much that we don't care about people dying? No, it's not true at all. I love this country. I love this society too much to let it be destroyed for no good reason. It's not a good reason to shut down a state or a city for 2 weeks, then reopen, and then say, oh, look, there's more transmission of the virus. Shut it down again. This was never agreed to by the American people. There's no legislation about this. This is all by executive order. And the people who are the symbols of failure on this, like Cuomo, are the ones that are making the most determinations about it. I mean, Governor Newsom, it's amazing. You see the media, Florida. Oh, look at all the cases in Florida. They're so bad. Their governor's terrible. Hey, media, there's also a lot of cases in not just California, but specifically Los Angeles. Oh, well, you know, the Los Angeles governor, the Los Angeles mayor and the governor are Democrats. So that's very strange. But we won't talk about that. Let's talk about Florida and how bad it is in Florida again. Media is a disgrace, but that's nothing new. That's nothing surprising. But they do want to mandate mask usage, and this is going to become a big political symbol. Bend the knee, wear a mask. Look, if I'm in close quarters with people and they would be more comfortable wearing a mask, I'm not trying to be a jerk, right? No one's looking to put people on edge or ill at ease. But when I'm walking the street by myself in New York and there's nobody within 50 feet of me anywhere, which is not hard to do in this abandoned city these days, and I walk and there's somebody with a mask who walks 10 feet past me and they give me a weird look, they're being crazy. They're at no risk of catching the disease from me. That's what all the science actually says. That's what all the experts have said. I'm social distancing blank off. You know, wearing masks inside grocery stores. I mean, I'll just tell you this. I think this one through. In New York, where we had the worst instances of community spread, the worst instance of community spread anywhere in the country. So we got hit harder than you. Now, I know if you're listening to this in Texas, you got a lot of cases now, right? I feel like in the early days of this pandemic, when I was talking about it in New York, a lot of you reaching out to me, oh, Buck, you know, this is a New York problem. It's because your subway. And I was like, well, I think it's going to spread other places too. But it was particularly bad here in New York. But now if you're in Arizona, if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, you got a lot of cases. If you're in Georgia, a lot of cases. But as we look at this and we see what the progression has been over time, there was a period where in New York I'm telling you, you couldn't even get in line socially distanced without a mask on to go into a store. And there were still lots of cases, including cases of people who were non-essential workers getting infected with COVID-19. So if masks protect you the way that we are led to believe they do, remember, if the mask has an efficacy rate against the virus of, you know, it increases the transmission, the barrier against transmission by 5%, is that really worth making everybody mask over? Are you going to make everyone mask for that? At some point, we have to look at this. It's definitely not 100%. It's not like I wear a mask, I don't get it. People in grocery stores all had masks, and yes, shoppers were still getting COVID. I want to know how they were wearing a mask. All right, well, what? If it were as simple as just wear a mask, this doesn't spread, then we should be able to shut this thing down in 2 weeks. The whole thing, right? It's not that simple, though, is it? But they want to believe that it is. They want to pretend that it is. Biden is out there saying that if he's elected, guess what? We're going to keep wearing masks long after he takes office. Play clip 4.
I would insist that everybody on public be wearing that mask. Anyone to reopen would have to make sure that they walked into a business that had masks.
Couldn't you use your federal leverage to mandate that, though?
Yes.
And would you?
Yes, I would. From an executive standpoint, yes, I would.
So you would, in effect, mandate the wearing of masks?
I would do everything on my possible to make it required that people had to wear masks in public.
Based on what in the Constitution? I'm sure they'll say it's the Commerce Clause, because anything that they want to do, they'll say, well, it affects commerce, so it's the Commerce Clause. It's ridiculous, completely unconstitutional. You got to wear a mask? What about wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt? Can they mandate that too? Well, I don't know. Maybe. What else can they tell you have to put on your body so you can go in public? Federally. Remember, this isn't state. This isn't even a police powers issue or under quarantine. As I keep saying, quarantine is for the sick. It's not a power you take it upon yourself to make mandates for the healthy so that they can't become sick. That's not how quarantine works. But here we are, friends. Here we are, once again, facing the reality of the Democrat mob. Where is our side? Where is our voice? Where is our president right now?
I was not briefed on the Russian military intelligence, but it shows that we need, in this coming defense bill, which we're debating this week, tough sanctions against Russia, which thus far Mitch McConnell has resisted.
Oh, here we go. Russia, Russia, Russia. More Russia sanctions, more Russia talk. Because while the country is still in the grip of a pandemic and doing everything that it can to get itself, well, at least some of us are doing what we can to get our country back up and running. Others are fighting against this. What we really need to focus on is unverified intelligence assessments that there may have been some members of the Russian GRU, their military intelligence, who are going to pay Taliban members bounties to kill U.S. soldiers. What exactly do the Democrats think they're doing here? What's the point of this? Remember, Trump is the one who wants to get us out of Afghanistan. He tries to come out, and the national security apparatus, oh, we can't leave. All of our gains will be lost. There's no gains. It's a nightmare. It's a mess. We should leave. We should leave tomorrow. Boom, gone. Have fun. Good job, Afghanistan. We tried. Let's see what you got. We'll send you some money. That's it. If we want to leave some advisors behind for some of the better units, but remember, we're putting those people at risk. Taliban infiltrators. We're not fighting a war to remake a country that does not wish to be remade and has shown us that for 20 years now. This needs to end. But that's actually not what Democrats are about here. You might think, oh, Buck, well, maybe they'll use this. This will be a transition point to we should end the war in Afghanistan. Finally. No. I can end the war in Afghanistan. They don't want to end the war in Afghanistan because Trump will get credit for it. Look at everything that happens between now and Election Day through the Democrats' prism of Trump derangement syndrome, and you will understand much more of what is happening. Look at every aspect of the media's coverage through that same prism, and nothing will surprise you. This is all about defeating Trump and taking back power. This is what these people live for. This is what gets them excited. What gets Democrats out of bed in the morning? Right? The ones who are involved in the apparatus of the Democrat Party, in the media, in the elite circles of academia, and even now corporate America. Democrats back in charge. That's what gets them really excited. Then the country will be so much better off. Everything will be fine if only we can get Democrats to run the show. And that then brings me to the Russia situation. They want to talk about Russia right now. They're not even sure. This assessment, which the intelligence community, I believe the DNI, has already come out and said, among others, that this is not, we didn't know this is true. I was in the CIA. They're wrong about stuff in the intelligence community in these assessments regularly. Okay? We get things wrong all the time. The moment you hear assessment, think of it like you're reading a Wall Street analysis of a stock. 50-50, it's right or wrong. Otherwise, just read what the latest analyst at, I was going to say Bear Stearns, but that would be very hard, or Lehman Brothers. But read what the latest analysis from, Goldman Sachs is on some stock that's out there in the public. And when it's wrong, be like, but Goldman Sachs says. Yeah, guess what? Wrong all the time, especially when it comes to stuff that's free and where they have no interest in you being right. Intelligence community, wrong on plenty of stuff. But then that brings me to why they're talking about this Russia intelligence, all of it. And remember, this is a leak. Again, here's another leak of classified information to the media for the purposes of undermining Trump. What is this really about? Well, Nancy Pelosi is always out there, and you can count on her to tell you what's really going on by accident.
Because she's just had too many Chardonnays, and she needs a nap.
She's the most powerful female Democrat in the country right now. Maybe second after AOC. Play, where is this? Pelosi saying, oh, yes, play clip 8.
Just as I've said to the president, with him, all roads lead to Putin. I don't know what the Russians have on the president politically, personally, financially or whatever it is. But he wants to ignore, he wants to bring them back into the G8 despite the annexation of Crimea and the invasion of Ukraine, despite what they yielded to him in Syria, despite his intervention into our election, which is well documented by our intelligence community, and despite now possibly this allegation, which we should have been briefed on.
So Russia. Trump is in Putin's pocket. You know what this is? Just to use that narrative again after it has been completely debunked, after we've had the Mueller investigation, all the sham, all the scam. You know, Flynn is not a traitor. He was not doing Putin's bidding. The Kislyak was not some secret back channel that was trying to run the Manchurian candidate Trump. All that lunacy the Democrats believed and shared and propagated for years. All of that gets used once again because there are still idiot Democrats, millions and millions of them, who think that, like, well, it was proven untrue, but I think it's still true. Even if the facts didn't add up the way that we thought they would, there's still something there. This is, again, talking about Russia. That is one of the... It is like a hamster hitting a pedal for a little pellet, you know? With Democrats, that's what Russia is. Ooh, Russia. It's like Halliburton under the Bush administration. You could be the dumbest person on planet Earth, but if you're talking to a Democrat and you said, blah, 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 Halliburton, they go, yeah, Halliburton's evil. Yeah, Trump's in Putin's pocket. Morons believe this, and it doesn't matter that it's untrue. Democrats will use this.